Do you remember the first time you played a Zelda game? I do. We were visiting my dad's friend one afternoon for the two guys to catch up, do some grilling, have a beer or two. To entertain my sister and I, my dad's friend showed us his Nintendo 64. He bragged to us about a game that had just come out that he thought we'd enjoy. He handed me the three-pronged controller, flicked the switch to power it on, and the CRT buzzed to life. It was nothing I had ever seen before. I had played Pokemon and Frogger on my Game Boy, but nothing like this. This was like a movie, a fully realized world inhabited by kids just like me. A world of fairies and adventure. It was a dream come true. The Zelda series is one of the most influential game series ever. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. People to this day talk about how Ocarina of Time is goated with the sauce. It's been a source of countless memories and innovations in game design and storytelling, but here's my question. What are they about? Not like surface level, we all get that. Bad pig guy steals princess, Peter Pan saves her, usually with an annoying companion that he learns to love. I'm talking subtextually, morally, dramaturgically. What do these games want to leave you with at the end of the day as a whole? Let me slow down and give you an example. The Harry Potter series has an easy-to-understand moral, so let's go from there. Each book is about its own thing. Justice, isolation, maturity, but as a whole, they're all about love. And that no matter what happens to us, the love we leave behind is the most important thing. But that's an easy-to-follow narrative where all the books flow right into each other. The Zelda series isn't like that. Right? In 2011, Nintendo released the Hyrule Historia, a book filled with fun facts about the game and their respective lore. There was also an official timeline detailing the history of Hyrule and the legends therein. It's changed over the years, and it's not a perfect roadmap. A lot of these games are kind of crammed in here without clear reason why, and like with remakes or reboots, things are similar but not one-to-one consistent with what came before it. But we're gonna take it as artistic license and deal with it. It's not perfect, but it's the best we have. So, let's stop all this chit-chat and pontificating and get going. Take out your notebooks and hope there's a snack break halfway through. You can call me Ren, and this is What's the Point of The Legend of Zelda? Part 1. So we have to start at the beginning. Skyward Sword is a 2011 video game for the Wii, and more specifically the Wii Motion Plus.
Yes! Very nice!
It details the first time in Hyrule history a lad with a dinky hat and a sword saved a hot blonde from a redhead, and it starts with some exposition. Yes! Long ago, demons invaded the earth from below looking for the ultimate power, held by a golden goddess. This power was able to grant anyone's wish, and created by gods even older than this guardian goddess. To save the power and her people, she sent the remaining humans into the sky and sealed the evil below. After many years, the people from that lifted patch of land have created a new life for themselves in Skyloft. The people of Skyloft use birds called loftwings to travel to and fro, insanely important to culture and travel. They're like avatar birds, or Chicano lowrider. As Skyloft comes into view, we see a statue of the guardian goddess, Hylia, and at its base is a young woman playing the harp. This is Zelda, the titular character. She's just a young woman, living simply, preparing for the festivities later in the day. She hands her loftwing a letter, and it's delivered to a young man named Link. Link is currently in the middle of a nightmare about a big bitey boy and a shining light telling him to wake up. Then the bird wakes him up and gives him the letter. Link meets with Zelda and they prepare for the wing ceremony where boys become men. Zelda is said to reenact the blessing of the goddess with the winner of the ceremony, so she's dressed as the goddess. Her and Link are old friends, so she feels very comfortable talking trash about his work ethic. And literally everyone agrees. Link is a slacker and everyone knows it, including resident jock Groose. This absolute specimen has stolen Link's Loftwing because he's jealous of Link's relationship with Zelda and again, his lack of work ethic. Zelda shows up, has a "he said no pickles" moment, and then they go and find Link's Loftwing. After learning how to swing a sword and figuring out how the damn motion controls work, Link wins the race at the wing ceremony, which means he gets to participate in the ritual with Zelda. It goes off without a hitch, and Link receives the sailcloth that Zelda made herself. Ooh. Like a quarterback celebrating a big game, Link takes his best girl out for a ride on the town. But before they can go to make-out point, disaster strikes. Zelda gets sucked into an alpha texture tornado, and Link gets knocked out and sees Christ the Redeemer. It turns out that this metallic sculpture is Fi, the titular sword. She reveals to Link that he has been chosen by the goddess Hylia to stop the impending apocalypse.
The youth who draws for the guiding sword shall be known as the goddess's chosen hero, and it is he who possesses an unbreakable spirit. He shall be burdened with the task of abolishing the shadow of apocalypse from the land. Such is his destiny. With the spirit of the blade at his side, he shall soar over the clouds and plummet below. And united with the Spirit Maiden, shall bring forth a piercing light that resurrects the land.
Link is then given his knight uniform, which this year just happens to be green, and then he and Fi head down to the surface world. There, they land on the sealed grounds, the spot where Hylia contained all the demons years ago. Link enters the nearby temple and meets an old lady who tells him that Zelda went, that-a-way. That-a-way happens to be another ancient temple where a sexy ballet dancer named Girahim is waiting. He admits he coded the alpha texture tornado and that he's after Zelda. After Link slaps him around a little bit, Girahim leaves and Link learns Zelda isn't here. She had shown up to purify herself in the spring behind the temple, but luckily, Fi knows where the next temple is. Link heads to the volcano temple and causes untold structural damage with some explosives he found. Ballet Boy Girahim is also there, but this time he sends a Jim Henson fire demon after Link. Once Link performs a controlled demolition on it, he finds Zelda in the company of a ninja lady. Remember when we said that Link was a slacker? This ninja knows it too. She tells Zelda to leave him as her mission is too important to be dragged down by him. Then she says this.
It took you far too long to get here. Looking at you, I fear the goddess is mistaken in her choice of agents. If this failure is any indication, you have no hope of defending her grace from those who seek to assail her. Do my words anger you, boy? Do my words sting? Let them. If I had not come when I did, your Zelda would have already fallen into the hands of the enemy. The truth of it is, you were late. You were late, and you failed to protect her.
Damn! So, Link gets roasted and left to simmer like a pork shoulder. Then him and Fi head to the desert to meet Zelda at the Gate of Time. Link finds his path to the Temple of Time blocked and has to go through the Lanayru mines to reach it, and therefore Zelda. The jewel the mine seems to be for are time shift stones. They possess an ability to turn back time in a finite area. Keep that in mind. After making sure the union workers' rights are respected, Link meets up with Zelda and the ninja, but then Girahim crosses the picket line, forever cementing him as a scab. As Impa, that's the ninja lady's name, holds him off, Zelda tosses Link a magic harp. After saving Impa from getting skewered, Link shows genuine character development and then tells him to leave. Zelda and Impa then disappear into a really cool door that blows up behind them. Girahim does a really cool sumo stance and then disappears. On his way back to the old lady, Link is accosted by childhood bully and known bird thief, Groose. Groose wants to rescue Zelda as well and become the third person in this game to stop them from kissing, which is why he's followed Link down to the surface. He's also really good with birds. Maybe he didn't steal Link's, could be that he just has a knack for it. Anyway, the old lady gives Link some guitar lessons, and like in 2001, a black monolith appears in front of him. This is another time gate, the same that Zelda and Impa disappeared into earlier. Before Link can learn how to use tools, however, the earth begins a shakin' and a quakin'. Heading outside, Link finds his nightmares coming true. The big biter from earlier is breaking out, and Link manages to stop him. This definitely is the only time this happens, and doesn't get annoying or tedious. Link then heads out to make his sword stronger so he can activate the Gate of Time and find Zelda again. He goes back to the areas he was just at to find 3 sacred flames. At each area, Link has to go to the sacred realm and receive teardrops and a blessing from one of the ancient goddesses, the really old ones who made the ultimate power. Link cleans up the last dungeon and meets Girahim again, who has been hitting arms hard at the gym. He is searching for the other Gate of Time, not that Link knows anything about that. After the fight, Link tempers his blade one last time.
Master, now that it has been tempered by the last of the sacred flames, your blade has finally revealed its true form. You now hold the Master Sword.
Link returns to the temple, deals with Chompy again, this time with the help of Groose. He then opens the gate and travels to the past. And there she is, Zelda.
You've come so far, Link. I'm glad you made it.
Zelda then drops the pretenses and finally gives Link some answers. Long ago, a group of ancient goddesses created the Triforce, which had the ability to grant any one wish. Demise, the Demon King, wanted this power for himself. So, the goddess Hylia sent the Triforce and her people into the sky. She returned to defeat Demise and seal him in the ground. However, she knew the seal wouldn't last. Hylia set 2 plans in motion. She created Phi to help guide the chosen hero, and then she gave up her immortality to be reincarnated as a mortal. The old goddesses had designed the Triforce so that only mortals could use it, so Hylia had to be mortal to fully utilize it and save her people from the threat of demise.
You've probably figured it out by now, haven't you, Link? You are the chosen hero, and I, Zelda, am the goddess reborn as a mortal.
Zelda then blesses the Master Sword with the goddess's power, and the Master Sword reaches its ultimate form. Afterwards, Zelda apologizes for bringing Link into all this, and seals herself alongside Demise to make sure the seal holds.
When Demise is finally gone, there will be no more need for the seal that binds him, and then I'll be able to wake up. So I'm going to ask you a favor, Sleepyhead. Ever since we were kids, I'd always be the one to wake you up when you slept in. But this time, when all of this is over, will you come to wake me up?
Zelda seals herself in a large amber jewel, and Link leaves for his own time period. He heads to Skyloft, where Zelda told him that the Triforce was located, and searches for it. The search leads him to Levias, a Willy who is a little too free. That didn't come out right. He's a flying whale. Free Willy, that's what I meant. Anyway, Levias tells Link to go to the 3 ancient dragons and learn the sections of a song that holds the answer to finding the Triforce. Link heads back to all the areas one last time and retrieves the sweet jams. After an awesome band practice, Link heads back to Skyloft proper and absolutely demolishes the island Hylia's shrine is on. Link makes his way through the dungeon and receives the Triforce, then makes his wish for the destruction of Demise. And then Hylia's temple falls to the ground. It turns out that the sealed grounds was the spot that Hylia lifted to the sky in the first place, and the temple was originally for Hylia. How about that, huh? Everything's something. Anyway, Demise is defeated, and Link can finally wake up Zelda. However, before a touching reunion can happen, Girahim appears once more.
My master may have perished in this age, but in the past, he lives yet. I am taking the girl back through that gate to help me revive the Demon King.
Link follows them to the past and fights his way to Girahim, who is stealing Zelda's power so that he can resurrect the Demon King Demise. Once Link gets to him, Girahim reveals that he's actually a sword spirit like Fi, only for Demise. Link defeats Girahim, but it's revealed that the ritual continued while they fought, and Demise is resurrected.
Welcome back to us, Master.
Demise is in full strength, however, so while Groose guards Zelda's body, hey man, glad you could make it, Link follows Demise into a parallel world in the sky and fights him one-on-one.
Extraordinary. You stand as a paragon of your kind, human. You fight like no man or demon I have ever known. Though this is not the end. My hate never perishes. It is born anew in a cycle with no end. I will rise again. Those like you, those who share the blood of the goddess and the spirit of the hero, they are eternally bound to this curse. An incarnation of my hatred shall ever follow your kind, dooming them to wander a blood-soaked sea of darkness for all time.
With his last words, Demise curses Link and Zelda and is sealed away in the Master Sword. Back at the temple, Link has to say goodbye to Fi, as her job is complete. Before she completely fades away, however, Fi makes sure to tell Link that she will miss him.
Before I enter the sleep that calls me to the sword, I wish to relate to you words that I recorded many times over the course of our journey. Many have said them to you thus far, but I now wish to say them for myself. Thank you, Master Link. May we meet again in another life.
Zelda also has to say goodbye to Impa, who remains in the past to watch over the Master Sword and the Triforce until Link and Zelda return. When Link and Zelda return to the present, they learn that the old lady who was there was actually Impa, completing her job as promised. The people of Skyloft, now free to roam the surface once more, go out and make new lives for themselves.
Look around us! As a child, I always dreamed of a world below. I wanted to see the surface with my own eyes and feel the land's warm breeze on my skin. I think I want to live here. I always want to feel solid ground beneath my feet, see the clouds above my head, and watch over the Triforce. What about you, Link? What will you do now?
So that's it. Just summarize the games and call it good. Video done, confetti toss. No, we're just taking a quick break here to talk about what just happened. We just met Link and Zelda for the first time, and the end of this strongly implies that the Kingdom of Hyrule is built on top of the sealed grounds. This is literally only the beginning. Now let's contextualize it. The monomyth, I know, is something that we all know at this point. A lot of stories fit into it, so we're gonna work with it as a rough baseline. But before we decide what the story's about, we have to decide who the story's about. We already know Link and Zelda, but this is just one game and one incarnation of the duo. It can't be them specifically. They don't ever show up again, kind of. So who is it? It's easier to see once we find the antagonist, Demise, or really Demise's spirit. At the end of this game, Demise curses Link and Zelda that his hatred and malice will always follow the two of them, those with the spirit of the hero and the blood of the goddess. Which means that while Link and Zelda specifically aren't our protagonists, as a whole, they are, so we're gonna keep that in mind going forward. Now, every story starts with the status quo, this one being that Link and Zelda are childhood friends and are gonna smooch, probably. Then an inciting incident happens that changes the status quo and changes the path our protagonists are on. In Skyward Sword, it's the Alpha Texture Tornado, but we have to look at the entire story, not just one game, which means that the inciting incident at this scale is actually Demise's curse. If Demise hadn't cursed Link and Zelda, there would be no constant threats. The spirit of the hero and the goddess reincarnated wouldn't be constantly torn apart by danger. This sets everything in motion. So what happens next? Three things happen right after Skyward Sword. The Twilight get banished, the Sacred Realm is sealed, and more demons attack. Really quick, we don't know who the Twilight are, or at least not really. We can guess, and we will, but not yet. Next question, why was the Sacred Realm sealed? Why do you want to know, huh? What's your problem, dude? Third thing, more monsters attack, but who can save us? People from the sky. Not the Hylians from earlier, but tiny little guys. The Minish Cap is a 2004 game for the Game Boy Advance. It tells of the Picori and the sword they gift a hero, the Picori Blade. It's important to note that this is not the Master Sword. That's still sealed away. Different sword. So, that unnamed hero saves the world and seals the monsters away in a chest locked with the Picori Blade. The people of Hyrule are so grateful they hold a yearly festival dedicated to the Picori, with an accompanying legend.
Just once, in every 100 years, a secret door opens and the Picori come to visit.
And guess which year it is? Link and Zelda are again childhood friends, only this time Link is the grandson of a blacksmith and Zelda is a full-blown princess. They head to the Picori Festival and have a grand old time until it's time to present the winner of the swordsmanship competition with a fine blade made by Link's grandpa. The winner of the competition, in addition to the new sword, gets to touch the Picori Blade. This year, a very not evil wizard wins the contest. He breaks the Picori Blade and frees all the evil inside the chest. Then he turns Zelda to stone. Vati then checks the chest and finds out that it's empty, save for all the monsters in it. Missing whatever he actually wanted, he runs off to go find it elsewhere. Link is then sent on a quest to find the Picori and reforge the Picori Blade. On his way to where the people of Hyrule assume the Picori live, Link encounters a bird hat man. Half bird, half man, half hat. After rescuing this guy, the bird hat introduces himself as Eslo and hops on Link's head, and thus the outfit is complete. Trippy. Eslo then says that he's actually a Minish wizard and can shrink Link down to Minish size. I know what you're thinking, what's a Minish? It's the actual name for the Picori. It's like a Native American Indian thing. The only reason Hyruleans call them Picori is because that's kind of what their language sounds like. So I guess it's more like a Pokemon thing. Anyway, Link goes through small and big dungeons looking for the 4 elements to reforge the sword. After getting the sword back into one piece, Link heads back to Hyrule Castle where there's a hidden room underneath it. Only here can he infuse the blade with the elements. Sound familiar? However, unlike the Master Sword, instead of just getting longer, after Link infuses the blade, he can split himself into a ghostly double. After Link splits for the first time, we meet Vati once more. Eslo then reveals that Vati used to be an apprentice of his, back when they were both Minish. Gasp! Shock! Eslo had created a magical hat that granted wishes as a gift for humans, but Vati, being filled with jealousy and a lust for power, took the hat and cursed Eslo, thereby cementing himself as the evil wind mage, Vati. Eslo also reveals something else. Not only did the Minish gift the hero the Picori blade, they also gave them the Light Force, a source of limitless magical power. Eslo and Link continue their adventure, eventually ending up in a city in the sky, meaning some people still live up in the clouds, Skyloft style. It's unclear if they still use loft wings or not, but there are at least small birds that carry people from place to place. They are summoned with a small blue ocarina, but that won't be important. Link and Eslo get all the elements and reveal the final form of the Picori blade, the 4 Sword. This then reveals an even secreter room, where there's a stained glass window in the secret room that tells the story of the Minish and the Light Force, which is revealed to be passed down in the princesses of Hyrule. Goddess power. Vati, who is eavesdropping, finds this out and goes to drain the Light Force out of Zelda. Link fights his way to Vati and manages to stop him before the ritual is complete.
Just a few more moments, and the ceremony would have been complete. You really are obsessed with stopping me, aren't you? Ah, very well. I have not yet drained all of the Light Force housed in Princess Zelda, but this shall be sufficient.
Link fights Vati and defeats him, and then using the power of the 4 Sword, Zelda is revived.
Link, thank you so much for saving me. When I was turned to stone, I saw visions of you, as if in a dream.
Vati makes one more vie for power, but Link stops him again and seals him away in the 4 Sword, breaking Eslo's curse in the process. Eslo gives Zelda the magic wishing hat, and she wishes for Hyrule to return to normal. Afterwards, Link and Eslo say goodbye, and the door to the Minish realm is closed, possibly forever. 4 Swords is also a game from 2004, also for the Game Boy Advance. This time, Link from the Minish Cap is the one the stories are about. The legends tell of him defeating Vati and sealing him within the 4 Sword. Princess Zelda this time around has the power to sense evil approaching, probably due to the Light Force, and takes a new Link with her to see what's going on with the 4 Sword. It's unclear how much time has passed between Minish Cap and 4 Swords, but enough has passed that the seal has weakened and Vati breaks free. He seems to have lost most of his memory, however. He doesn't remember being a Minish, nor does he remember what the Light Force even is. Instead, he just kidnaps Zelda because he thinks she's pretty and wants to marry her. Fair enough. Link then grabs the 4 Sword after some fairies tell him to, and he splits into 4. Apparently, the power of the seal has been transferred to the duplication powers of the sword because now the different versions of Link are all mildly sentient. That's at least my rationale for it. I don't know. The Links then go to 3 different dungeons, definitely not fighting with each other the whole way, and eventually make their way to Vati's palace, up in the clouds. Vati's palace being the only place we see in the sky, it's unclear if people still live in the clouds, but never say never. Anyway, the 4 of them slap his ass and seal him within the 4 Sword once again. Then they rescue Zelda and reunite themselves as a singular Link. All's well that ends well. Certainly, nothing absolutely insane and historic would happen after that quick little adventure. Okay, before we engage in that facetious funny boy joke, we need to talk about what just happened. Hyrule has grown a bit since it crash landed on the Earth. We also learn a bit more about how the goddess's gift works, but what does this mean? We have to keep coming back to that question, or else I'm gonna go on a tangent, and it won't end until I start talking about Happy Feet. Why does Demise choose Vati? Why do we have to see this story instead of the other ones? What's so important about Vati and the Four Sword? Here's my answer. I think Vati is the first single entity that has come along that has even been close to Demise in power and, more importantly, hate. The previous hero in the Legends is just dealing with monsters in general. No big bad. There isn't even a Zelda, it's just this guy, which already doesn't fit the parameters of the curse. But in addition to having both a Zelda and a Link, we have a lonely person searching for power and dominion, and I think that's the final key to why Vati is the first being Demise corrupts. Or at least the first that we see. But even bigger than that, what does this mean for our heroes, the spirit of the hero, and the goddess incarnate?
Oh, I'll feed you, baby birds. Do you think I'd leave you with a cliffhanger? That's not my style.
This is the supernatural aid part of the story, if we're sticking with the monomyth. This is the first time a Zelda and a Link go up against Demise since Skyward Sword. Demise is testing out his newfound power the first chance he has, and he fails. Pretty bad. So bad that this is the youngest Link, and he still loses. At least Skyward Sword Link was a grown person. This Link is a child, and doesn't even use the Master Sword. Demise even tries to use Vati again, and it goes the exact same way. Why? Because the goddess's power is growing. Or at least it's becoming easier for the princesses of Hyrule to use. Minish Cap Zelda was not only aware of Link's entire quest due to visions, but she used it as a shield when Vati initially attacked. Four Sword Zelda was also able to use the power to sense the seal on Vati was weakening. Demise failed this time because he underestimated Zelda and Link. Twice. So, while our heroes haven't really learned anything, or even been challenged too much, Demise has. Which brings us back to that evening on the CRT. The GOAT. Okay, but actually, first things first. It says in the timeline that in between Four Swords and Ocarina, there was a Hyrulean Civil War. We aren't given very clear evidence about who and what and why, but I'm sure we can find something in the text as we go. So, just keep that in mind. Point it out to me when you see it, okay? I'm trusting you. Can you do this? Alright. So, Ocarina of Time is a game from 1998 for the Ocarina of Time begins in the forest. The Kokiri Forest to be precise, which mostly seems like what Minish Woods has become. However, the maps start getting a little wonky, so it's not one-to-one from here on out. Grain of salt. The Great Deku Tree feels an evil power coursing through the land and advises his second-in-command, Navi the Fairy, to bring Link to him. This incarnation of Link has grown up isolated from the rest of Hyrule in the forest. Not only that, but he's isolated from the rest of the Kokiri children because he doesn't even have a fairy. Something all Kokiri children receive at some point, but not our boy. At least until Navi shows up, that is. She wakes up Link and gets him to the Deku Tree. Not before he has to go get a sword and a shield because Mido, the de facto boss of the Kokiri, tells him to. Link gears up and goes to the Deku Tree, and learns that his nightmares are being caused by evil powers growing in the land, and that the Deku Tree has been cursed. Link ventures inside the Deku Tree to break the curse and kill the spider that was inside of him. Upon returning, Link learns that an evil man from the desert cursed the Great Deku Tree in hopes to find the entrance to the Sacred Realm. Now, the Sacred Realm, where Skyward Sword Link had to find the Tears of the Goddesses, has been sealed since before Minish Cap. But why was it sealed, you asked me all the way back then? Well, it turns out, that's where the people of Hyrule have hidden the Triforce. The Triforce that grants wishes? That one. We also learn the names of the three goddesses that created the Triforce. Din, the goddess of power, Nayru, the goddess of wisdom, and Faror, the goddess of courage. The three of them each created part of the world. Din the earth, Nayru law, and Faror life. As they left the mortal plane, their exit became the Triforce. The Great Deku Tree then tells Link that it was already too late for him, and he was doomed the moment the man in black cursed him. The Great Deku Tree gives Link the spiritual stone that the man in black wanted and tells him to go to Hyrule Castle and meet the Princess of Destiny. His last words are an order to Navi to stay with Link and carry out this mission. As Link leaves, Mido stops him and accuses him of killing the Great Deku Tree.
Hey, Link! What did you do? The Great Deku Tree, did he die? How could you let a thing like that happen? It's all your fault!
What happened? What did you
Where
do?
are you going?
You killed him? Oh, you're leaving?
She doesn't try to stop him. She says she understands that he has to leave. She gives him the fairy ocarina as a parting gift. And look, I know that some people are like, he ran away because girls are yucky. But I never saw it like that. I always thought, even as a kid who thought girls were yucky, that he ran because he didn't want her to see him cry.
Well, why you boring me? I'm right.
So Link leaves the forest and receives directions to Hyrule Castletown from a kind old owl who won't shut the hell up. Hyrule Castletown is pretty similar to how we last saw it, a central bazaar surrounded by housing. The only difference is that now there's a temple we couldn't see before, hidden just behind some houses. Link makes his way into the castle and past several guards until he finally meets the Princess of Destiny, Zelda. Zelda tells Link that she's been having visions of a danger approaching Hyrule and about the story of the Triforce. It's important to talk about the fact that Zelda only says the three goddesses. She never mentions Hylia once during her explanation, which possibly means that people have forgotten about Hylia the same way people forgot about the Picori. Even though a princess of the royal family is sensing imminent danger. I wonder how she's doing that! Zelda explains to Link that he needs to get the other two spiritual stones and play a song on the Ocarina of Time, a royal family heirloom, to access the only door left to the spiritual realm, which happens to be in the temple that was hidden just out of sight, the Temple of Time. After this explanation, Zelda tells Link that the man she believes is the threat is Ganondorf, leader of the Gerudo.
I am afraid. I have a feeling that man is going to destroy Hyrule. He has such terrifying power. But it's fortunate that you have come. You go find the other two spiritual stones. Let's get the Triforce before Ganondorf does, and then defeat him.
Link heads out for Death Mountain first, where the Gorons live. On the way, he passes Kakariko Village, the home of Impa, Zelda's attendant, which will be important later, but for now, Link is just going to head on up the mountain. There, he finds out that the quarry the Gorons use for their food supply has been sealed off by Ganondorf. Link selflessly opens the quarry and defeats the monsters inside, making it safe for use again. He is then gifted the spiritual stone and made a member of the Goron family, and definitely not a Yakuza way. Next up is the Zora Kingdom, which is currently missing its princess, Ruto. In an aquatic parallel to Link, she sensed that something was wrong with her guardian deity, wink wink Ganondorf, and also went directly inside of him to stop the curse. Link rescues her and also the deity, Jabu Jabu. Link is then gifted the final spiritual stone, which also doubles as an engagement ring. Mazel, Link!
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
As Link returns to Hyrule, mission complete, the sky darkens. Link is then confronted with his nightmares come true. Zelda and Impa fleeing a burning Hyrule, pursued by Ganondorf. Zelda throws Link an unidentified object before Link gets absolutely rocked by a warlock fist. After a few GGs, Link retrieves the item Zelda threw and finds out it's the Ocarina of Time, a special instrument carved from an ancient blue stone that has some control over time. That sounds familiar. Anyway, Link heads to the Temple of Time and plays the Song of Time while presenting the spiritual stones. The door opens and we see, for the first time in countless years, the Master Sword. Link removes the blade from its pedestal, ready to use the legendary blade to stop Ganondorf before it's too late. Unfortunately, as with the Great Deku Tree, Link had lost before he even started. As Link pulls the sword from the ground, he is transported to the Sacred Realm, closely followed by Ganondorf. Let's take a second to talk about all this. What just happened? Demise did the same move as before, right? Strike while Link and Zelda are still young and can't do much. Not entirely. Ganondorf is smarter than Vati ever was. Let's look at this plan. Ganondorf goes after all the Guardians of the Sacred Stones before he even meets Link. You'd originally think this was because he was just going after the Sacred Stones, but it's not that. He's making sure Link gets them while simultaneously weakening all of his support systems. Ganondorf has made it clear that he already has insane magic powers with or without the Triforce. Why not just start laying waste to the land immediately? Because he's playing the long game. Kill the Deku Tree himself? The Kokiri children fleeing the forest would be a signal something was wrong. Have it look like Link killed the tree, and now he's the only child who left. Same with the Gorons. They might have been able to overpower Ganondorf in battle, so he weakens them with hunger. The Zora could evade him freezing them altogether, but by having Link rescue their princess, he's given them a reason to celebrate and lower their guard. But why wouldn't he just brute force it? Because he needs the last key, the Ocarina of Time. And he knows that no amount of brute force can get the Hyrule royal family to give up their power. Why? Because it didn't work the last time he tried. Ganondorf made sure that Link got all 3 sacred stones and then made his move. He chases Zelda out of the castle not because he wants the Ocarina, because he knows she'll give it to Link. He was 10 steps ahead of them the whole time. This is why Demise went after the spirit of the hero as a child again. Not because he's physically weak, because he's naive. Link and Zelda thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were right. They didn't know that they had already lost.
Excellent work. As I thought you held the keys to the door of time. You've led me to the gates of the sacred realm. I owe it all to you, kid.
Ganondorf follows Link into the sacred realm and finds the Triforce. And as this is happening, Link is put in stasis for 7 years, and we'll just take a second to sit in that as well. Our boy, the embodiment of the spirit of the hero, who, without a thought for himself or a word of complaint, has helped everyone he's come across. And when he makes one colossal mistake, he's forced to sit and wait, while everyone who calls him a friend, who have accepted him as family, are imprisoned or killed.
That's rough, buddy.
Anyway, the reason why that happened was because, in kind of a fair point, Link was too young to wield the Master Sword. Even just physically, that thing is like bigger than him. What is he, a 10-year-old Guts? So Link leaves the Temple of Light and heads back to the land of Hyrule with a new quest. Find the 5 remaining sages and awaken them, so that way they can unite their powers to stop Ganondorf. As Link returns to the land of Hyrule, he is immediately greeted by a man named Sheik, who explains where Link can find the 5 sages to complete his quest. Sheik also tells Link that Kakariko Village is where he should start. It ain't looking good for Hyrule when Link steps out of the temple at time. Castletown is destroyed, and all that's left are zombies and ghosts. Kakariko has become the refuge for any survivors from Castletown. Still not talking about it yet, though. Link goes to the graveyard, drifts on a ghost, and earns the hookshot. With this, Link can go to the Lost Woods and the Forest Temple. To do this, he has to go through the Kokiri Forest once more. Strangely, none of the Kokiri have aged since Link left, nor do they recognize him. Link learns that Saria has gone to the Forest Temple and heads there himself. But once again, Mido blocks the way. This time under orders from Saria. However, Link plays Saria's song to prove that he knows what he's doing. Mido recognizes the song and lets Link past.
When I see you, I don't know why, but I remember him.
Link learns a song from Sheik and then enters the Forest Temple. This temple seems to have been around for a very long time, possibly before the Sacred Realm was sealed. I mean, the room where Link fights Phantom Ganon looks awfully similar to the Temple of Light. But that's just a theory. A theory I stole from Zelda YouTubers. Link defeats Phantom Ganon and rescues Saria, who's then awakened as the Sage of the Forest Temple. She gifts Link her medallion and then says her goodbyes. But the game makes sure you know that it's not all bad. Link is returned to the corpse of the Great Deku Tree and is surprised to find a Sprout there now. The Sprout tells Link that he isn't actually a Kokiri, he's Hylian. His mother fled the Hyrulean Civil War and brought him as a baby to the Kokiri Forest before passing away. The Deku Sprout then makes sure Link doesn't forget his quest and sends him on his way. Link then makes his way to the other temples. In the Fire Temple, Link finds Darunia and after playing Whack-A-Mole, awakens him as the sage he truly is. The Water Temple is super uneventful and honestly not even worth talking about, but Ruto is the one Link awakens, who then says that she has to stay here and can't marry Link after all. Link then heads back to Kakariko, only to be attacked by a shadow. Sheik tells Link that Impa has sealed it in the Shadow Temple under the village and that Link needs to go help. Upon entering the Shadow Temple, Link realizes that it's actually a massive dungeon. In the medieval sense, not the Zelda sense. Which is weird, right? What's that? The Hyrulean Civil War. What's that? There's a reason the Sheikah are the right hand of the royal family? What's that? This is the dungeon that the Hyrulean royal family would use to torture its prisoners of war and hid it underneath the Sheikah village so that way they could maintain an air of pristine grace while also doing war crimes? Yeah. After fighting the Shadow Spirit, which turns out to be Neil Peart, Link awakens Impa as the Sage of Shadow. Impa doesn't admit what went down in the dungeon, but she does tell Link that he'll see Zelda soon. The final sage to be awakened is in the Spirit Temple. However, Link is just too damn thick to enter it. So, using his amazing wit and cunning, and definitely not a hint from Sheik, Link puts the Master Sword back and is transported back to being a child. He then meets Nabooru, a Gerudo thief who hates Ganondorf and is going to use the treasure in the temple to defeat him. Link retrieves the treasure, which are gauntlets, for her, but Nabooru is then kidnapped by two twin witches. Link then travels to the future to finish the temple and awaken its sage. Inside, he finds the witches and an iron knuckle. Upon defeating the iron knuckle, Link finds that it was Nabooru all along, forced to the whims of the witches for the 7 years while he was gone. Link defeats the witches and awakens Nabooru as the final sage, the Sage of Spirit. Rauru tells Link to return to the Temple of Time to meet the final sage. There, Link finds Sheik. Sheik tells Link that the Triforce exists in a perfect balance between its three elements: power, wisdom, and courage. And if someone's heart is untrue and unbalanced, the Triforce will separate, and the user will be left with only the one part that they believe most in. Ganondorf received the Triforce of Power, Link himself received the Triforce of Courage, and Princess Zelda received the Triforce of Wisdom. Sheik then reveals that he was actually Zelda in disguise, which explains the harp. She then gifts Link her greatest weapon, the Arrow of Light. However, neither of them have learned that the Temple of Time is not a safe place to have a private conversation, and Ganondorf overhears all of this and kidnaps Zelda. Link hurries to Ganon's keep, and the other sages help him enter and climb the tower, where Ganondorf is waiting. Ganondorf explains that he wants all three pieces of the Triforce, and tries to defeat Link and take his piece. Link fights him off, however, and Ganondorf is seemingly defeated. As Zelda begins to show genuine pity for him, his tower begins to collapse. Her and Link manage to escape, and all seems well, until a rumble is felt. Ganondorf has used the Triforce of Power to transform into a monstrous pig form known as Ganon. Both Zelda and Navi help Link fight the giant Ganon, and, using her magic, Zelda holds him still long enough for Link to make the final blow. As he's defeated, the 6 sages use their power to transfer Ganon to the Sacred Realm and seal him there forever.
Someday, when this seal is broken, that is when I shall exterminate your descendants. As long as the Triforce of Power is in my hand.
With Ganon defeated, Link and Zelda meet in the sky, which should look familiar. She apologizes for her mistakes and congratulates Link for completing his quest. She tells him to return the Master Sword to its pedestal and to live out the childhood he had lost.
Now go home, Link. Regain your lost time. Home, where you were supposed to be. The way you are supposed to be. Thank you, Link. Goodbye.
Link returns to the past and returns the Master Sword. However, he has one more goodbye to contend with. Navi, her job completed, leaves Link and ventures off to parts unknown. Link then returns to Hyrule Castle to warn the princess and ensure that the future he has just lived never happens again. Ocarina of Time is one of the most important stories in the Zelda canon, and it isn't hard to see why. This is the first time the spirit of the hero is reunited with the Master Sword. The first time the Triforce is split. The first time Demise wins. One of the running themes in Ocarina of Time is loss of childhood. It's not a secret, and I'm not the first person to point it out, but what I do want to talk about is what that means for the overarching story. What would saying goodbye to the past mean in this context? It means Act 1 is over. We have now crossed the first threshold. Ocarina of Time is not shy about saying everything will change from here on out, and when you look at it through that lens, important scenes aren't just about the Link at hand, but the spirit of the hero itself.
I knew that you would leave the forest someday, Link, because you are different from me and my friends. But that's okay, because we'll be friends forever, won't we?
Past, present, future. The Master Sword is a ship with which you can sail upstream and downstream through Time's river.
Link, you have fully matured as an adult. From now on, the future of all the people in Hyrule is on your shoulders.
Everyone in this game agrees that this is a big one. This is literally when boys become men. But this game is also unique in other aspects, chief of which being, it splits the timeline. Ganondorf and his pig counterpart Ganon are the antagonists for almost every Zelda game from this point forward. Something about this man just meshes with the Curse of Demise so well that he sticks around from here on out. But what is it? Similar fashion sense? Both full of hate and cunning? Or maybe it's because this vessel fits so well that it works. In this game, Ganon wins. He not only separates Link and Zelda, he gains the ultimate power of the goddess, which was Demise's goal all along. These games make no secret of saying that other Links and Zeldas have come and gone between them, and that they all had some ancient threat to stave off. I think the reason Ganon sticks around is because he was the greatest of all of Demise's incarnations. He accomplished everything that Demise couldn't, including defeating Link. The instant Link crosses the door to Ganon's throne room, the timeline splits. 2, where Link is victorious and Ganon is defeated, but 1, where Ganon wins and Link is killed. A timeline where Demise gets everything he wanted. It's not a coincidence that the timeline splits into 3. 3 is a magic number, especially in The Legend of Zelda. 3 golden goddesses, 3 pieces of the Triforce, 3 main characters. And for me, while each timeline continues the story narratively, they each accomplish a second task. They explore and define one of these 3 characters, the forces they represent, and the way they impact their world. Power, courage, and wisdom. And there's only one timeline I can think of that could be power. This is the end of part 1. I really hope you enjoyed it. It was super fun to make. Subscribe and hit the notification icon to keep an eye out for the next parts coming later this year. And if you're wondering, how does he know about all these games? Well, I've been playing them all live on my Twitch channel. Oh, look at that yawn. You guys see that big yawn? Clip that big yawn. That was a big yawn. If you enjoy gaming and want to hear me swear, head on over to twitch.tv/GuyloRen for more content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.